I logged on to Twitter/X to get caught up with the news cycle. And the top trend was Kamala Harris beating Trump in the polls. That was the top trend. And I'm like, okay, if that, I don't think that's true, but if it is, it's temporary because they're trying to make her out to be the second coming of Jesus Christ. When it wasn't 6 months ago that they were saying, CNN especially was saying she was going to be a drag on Biden's ticket. So can you give us a sense of what the hell's going on and help us read the tea leaves a little bit?
I think that, well, let me just say for context, I think that they're doing an information warfare campaign where they repeat something over and over again and hope it becomes true. So they start with a scam and lies and narrative, and that includes polling. And it's not true right now, but it may become true because they did it. A great example of this is white women in the suburbs. In 2016, they went on the ultimate shame campaign against white women, and they repeated it until it became true. It was not true. Donald Trump carried white suburban women in 2016. Republicans in Georgia in the 5th Congressional District won them, and that's how they were able to hold on with Karen Handel against John Ossoff. They repeated it over and over and over, including with a race in your own backyard, Rick Saccone versus Connor Lamb. And it became true because it's what's called a social desirability bias. And it was intentional. There were memos from David Brock. I mean, and the media signed on to it fully. And this is what they did. And they shamed white women, white suburban women. Remember Hillary Clinton's comment? White women can't vote unless their husband tells them how to vote, basically. Like, too many white women do that. That was a part of that. I mean, they did that. So the difference here is that they have little time. And we have 2 years of polling data to show that Kamala Harris is not a strong candidate. Nothing that she did during vice president, our time as vice president, made her a better public speaker or a better candidate. But they will push this narrative. The Bloomberg poll, I will say this. This is not the first. This isn't even the second. This is now the third time we talked about it on your show. That Morning Consult has done this for Bloomberg. And at first, I gave them a pass, but I'm not going to give them a pass now because the first time, you may remember, folks, Biden surges post State of the Union to Biden surges in the battleground states post State of the Union. And then you look at the polls that they're using. Those were Morning Consult polls for Bloomberg, and the interviews were conducted before Joe Biden ever even gave the goddamn speech. So this was, but as a pollster, you should have come forward, and that should have been something that you should have said, like, well, wait a minute, the media is saying this, but all of our interviews were conducted before that speech was given. They didn't say a damn thing. And then I said, all right, and I put it under my hat. And then, the polls bounced back for Trump, and that was that. Though other than the second time, and then now this is the third time. I mean, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Now it's like nobody's speaking up. Everyone I spoke to last night I don't want to name the outlets, but I will tell you this right now. Fox News does not want Donald Trump to win this election. I was talking to people last night. They're all in on Kamala, and they're going to push their own bullshit polls real soon. Like, this is coming. All right. So we're now going to re-enter 2020, and they're going to hope it sticks, and we'll see what happens. But we just got out of the field. I just haven't written up the press release yet. It's shared if you want to show it. It's a...
Do you have it? Do you have it?
Yeah, I do.
All right. So explain for people what this poll is, and I'll throw it up there.
This is a national poll of Trump versus Kamala Harris, but there's a bunch of other things in here which I think are very important. And what you're looking at is the back of a tool we use to make crosstabs called Market Site. A lot of people use it. It's really cool. And these are different variables. So education, right? These represent the questions. Rows are questions we asked. Columns are typically demographics, right? There is no doubt, and I think, in my experience as a pollster, I think this is largely a response bias, but we will see. Okay, and I'm going to show you why. It is tightened. It has. If you look at we asked different ways for the presidential election, but we have Trump up over Harris still 46.7 to 45.5, although that's pretty close, even though nationally that's still a win for Trump in the Electoral College. All right. If you look at black voters, for instance, because this is something the media is doing a lot with, this is gender by race. You can see that black females did move back to Harris more, because you and I have talked about, like, remember we were on the phone after my last poll, and I was really getting concerned that some of this was unbelievable to me. And black women were one of those demographics identified where I just thought their margin for Trump was too much. Like it was, I didn't believe that. This looks more believable to me now, where she's actually winning 78% of black women. Trump is still getting 12% of black women. Note this, however, she's only getting 58.8% of black men. He's still getting a third of the black male vote. So what is that compared to last month? No change. Absolutely no change. So black men did not move, and Hispanic men are still very, Trump is still doing very strong with them. 46.1% of the Hispanic male vote. He's getting a third of the Hispanic female vote. When you combine these together, Sean, and look by race, let me just roll that up real quick. You see that Trump overall is still getting 22% of the black vote. She's only getting 69 before you lean voters, and he's getting just under 40% of the Hispanic vote. She's getting 49. So no, like it's not a game changer here. What it is, it's that black voters were about 16% more likely to want to be interviewed this month than they were the last 2 months, which they were identical the last 2 months. So when you do ask people to lean, Trump is he's getting a little bit less than he got last month of the black vote, but he actually popped up a little bit with Hispanics, where he's getting 45% of the Hispanic vote compared to 55% for Kamala. And the white vote is about the 2020 margin. So, not really a big change there. It's just that, I think this is a textbook response bias. Our sample was more Democratic this month than it has been for months. Why? Because more Democrats just were wanting to be interviewed. That's a textbook response bias. And it's your job as a pollster to identify that and make sure that every group is represented correctly. So did it tighten? I do think it tightened. Is it game changing? Is she in the lead? Not in our polling. And I honestly, this is still a significant electoral college loss for her. But I don't see any reason why, outside of if the media's campaign is successful, then it will have staying power, but it really shouldn't. And here's why. Here's Harris's approval. Okay. 25.6% strongly approve the job she's doing as vice president. 21% somewhat approve. So you're looking at a approval rating of roughly 47%, while 50% disapprove. So she's still slightly negative. She's -3. Here's her favorability rating. Okay. Her favorability rating has gone up because it was in the 30s. Now it's 42.2 with 56% have. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's Biden. Sorry. I was like, wait a minute. That's too high for her. Here we go. 50.4% have an unfavorable opinion of her, and she has increased to the mid to high 40s. She's at 47% roughly of people who say that they have a favorable opinion. So she's -3. Watch this. Here is Trump's retrospective approval rating, meaning, do you approve or disapprove of the way Donald Trump handled his job while he was president? Okay. He is now, for the first time since he was inaugurated in January 2016, in our poll, and 2017, excuse me, in our polling, he is now not only positive, but he's majority approve and positive. Okay. So 32.3% strongly approve of how he handled the job when he was president. Another 20%, 19.9, somewhat approve. So putting that together, folks, about 52% approve of the job he was approve of the job that it's actually 52, right? 52% approve of the job he did as president, while about 47% disapprove. That's just the way it's going to be. You're going to have it's less than that. It's 36.5 plus 8.7. So about if we rounded. So he's still positive though, about 5 points. If you look at his favorability, because I always tell people this, approval is how they see your policy with a little bit of image. Favorability is your image with a little bit of that policy if you're already been an elected person. So it's like it basically is two of the same things go into that, how people view that, but it's the reverse on, I would say, how much goes into that. So 33% now view him very favorably, 17.6% somewhat favorably, Sean, only 48% view him unfavorably combined. So he is now majority and positive viewed favorably. This is nuts. This hasn't happened since Donald Trump was inaugurated. And I haven't released it yet, but people will see it. We asked who people trust to handle the issues more, and Trump is just mollywopping her on the key issues. And here's something else that jumps out at me immediately. Trump voters, they almost unanimously say, I trust Trump more. Many of Harris's voters, they'll either say neither, or they'll say undecided, or they'll flatly tell you that they trust Trump more to handle the economy. They trust Trump more to handle inflation. That tells me her support, even in my own poll here, is very soft. That's a response bias. This is due to glowing coverage and Democrats being more excited that their candidate isn't a walking corpse. I mean, it's what it comes down to. There's no indication that this would last. There isn't. And anyone being intellectually honest in my position would tell you that. The only way it would is if the media is successful in what they're trying to do. Oh, and by the way, guess I didn't put this out there. Her most vulnerable thing is immigration. Guess how many people know that Kamala Harris's job was to be the border czar, or to have to get the border under control. Only 34.6% correctly identified that Kamala Harris was appointed by Biden to get the border under control. So she's super vulnerable there, which explains why the media immediately rushed to rewrite history, to get rid of all references of her being the border czar, to push back on that title, because they ran the polling their damn selves and they know it. And that was a huge potential pitfall for her. So listen, if sitting in New Bern, North Carolina, I got my hands on some of that polling, then rest assured the New York Times have seen it. The Washington Post has seen it. They all have seen it, folks. CNN, MSNBC, even Fox News, who doesn't like you. So get over that. They're a conservative network. They're not. They hate your guts. All right. They can't stand you. They're pretending to be you. So you give them your money. I mean, so that really is, they're like a fake version of the Hallmark Channel of cable news. It's a total scam. All right. So they know it. And that's why they did this. As soon as I saw that number, it was so clear to me, Sean, that they knew this. And that's why, because at first it really didn't make sense. Like, how could you expect to rewrite history like that? Right. But it does make sense if you realize not too many people know yet. And if you act quickly, you can head it off.
Mike Lindell here, and like you, I see our country being destroyed daily. We face massive economic issues, and I can tell you from firsthand experience, there are people in power who threaten the values that have made our country great. Well, I've been a believer in gold and silver for a long time, and I've searched for years for a partner that shares my values. Well, Genesis Gold Group showed me how easy it is to protect your IRA, 401k, or your retirement with gold and silver. Their faith-driven approach to service and stewardship is one that stands out from the rest.
To get your free definitive gold guide and get started learning more about investing in gold and protecting your retirement from uncertain times, visit treasureandtrust.com now. Fill out the basic contact form and a member of the team will be in touch. Again, that's treasureandtrust.com or call 855-625-7760.